YouTube. It's Brian Phillips. Look at this. The Revolution 235 CP, all new from Blade. This replaces the 230S. You may have noticed it went off the website. And you can get it in a ready-to-fly basic, which means you do have to provide your own battery, but we'll show you the starter bundle that we recommend. Now, this thing comes safe and AS3X Plus equipped. We're gonna take it off right now. Maybe the dock is not a good idea, but that's yet to be seen. We're gonna find out in mere moments. And without further ado, you'll notice my collective is down at the bottom and my throttle cut is currently on. I'm gonna turn it off and then I'm gonna go ahead and spin it up. And we'll see how this goes. Camera crew and I are gonna go back just a few steps. Let it get up to speed. And then up she goes. As you can see, man, that thing is solid. And really pretty, by the way, I might add. Now, this helicopter is not like what you've seen us fly recently, because it is basically a collective pitch helicopter that can teach you to learn helicopters. You don't have to be an expert to fly this, but you do have to know a little bit about aircraft. And so you can see my throttle stick is about, it's called a collective on a helicopter. It's about 75%. And you can lean it really nicely and you can fly it around. We'll try to keep it nice and low and close so you can see what's going on. Now, this helicopter is flying on an 850 milliamp hour 3S. And as you can see, it does not have some sort of a weird GPS helidrome setup, because it is an actual helicopter. Look at that water, that's so dang cool. So guys, we're flying this at our pond, and look at how beautiful that thing is. They replaced an ultra popular helicopter with what will be, hopefully for years, a great trainer. And in safe, you feel like you're flying a helicopter, because it really is a good pod and boom style helicopter. And I'm really excited to be involved in this. Of course, you may notice that our video is a little bit behind schedule. That's because ours was lost by FedEx. Thanks, FedEx. And so now we are in the process of just getting our hands on it for the first time. A couple days later, a couple 25 miles an hour more wind. That's why we're flying back here, because it is nice and self-contained. Also, not sub 250, so if you're flying outside of a FRIA and you want to fly legally, you might need to get yourself a remote ID module, or you can just use a FRIA. And that way, if you're flying at your local club, you don't have to worry about that. Now, as you can see, I have no problems flying this thing, and you guys know just about my skill level based on watching our videos for some time. But this is all in safe. So when I let go of the sticks, it auto levels. But there is no optical flow sensor pointed at the ground, so it just kind of moves with the wind. So once you get it leaning, it keeps moving. And then when you let go, it does auto level and it snaps nicely. But then if you get out of sorts, you can press the bind button and it will panic. Now, panic is going to be an aggressive correction, but if you're already in auto leveling, there just isn't that much going to change, okay? This helicopter used to have a little bit of trouble getting people out of the most aggressive upset positions when you would hit the bind button to actually take advantage of the panic mode, and that has largely been corrected on this helicopter from what we've been told. So I'm gonna actually go out here. We'll go over the top of the, let's go fly in the bull for a minute, camera crew. Okay. Let's take a nature walk real quick. Camera crew's gonna walk up with me. Oh, by the way, if you need to know a size scale, this is 230 millimeter blades. You can replace lots of the parts from the Blade 230, but not 100% of them, okay? And so why don't we just fly from here for a minute? Damn gift shop in the backdrop. A lot more wind up here, can you tell? Now going into idle up 1. So as you can see, it doesn't auto level anymore. And so now at this point, I can flip it over and do all the crazy tricks that I would want. Of course, I'm not a huge collective pitch helicopter pilot, but you can fly these things just like you stole them. And if you decide you're having trouble, hit panic and boom. Then switch your switch back to basic, AS3X and safe, and it's gonna get you flying again. So as you can see, it's got some good speed to it and it's got some good visibility, but it is still a relatively small helicopter. And so that's one thing you wanna keep in mind as you're making your decisions about what helicopters to look for, okay? So now I'm gonna go to idle up 2. So idle up 2, this is a 3S pack, but it's not a big heli, okay? So idle up 2 is gonna be stunt 2, okay? So now that we're stunt 2, we're a lot more aggressive on pitch angles and everything. And then if you get in a situation where you're lost, just use your middle finger to hit that panic button, okay? And then it'll auto level for you until you get your wits about you. And then you can just go back to flying, okay? So I'm gonna actually hold that panic button, let go, and then I'm gonna come back out of it and I'll do another loop for you. And there you go, guys. And then back to basic flight mode. Guys, I don't do a lot of upside down flight performance. I'm not a 3D aficionado when it comes to helicopters at all. And I can definitely tell you this, it's just really not my main focus. It's never really been. But one thing I love about helicopters is when they fly smooth and easy. Oh, and by the way, we're using a DXS. It's not like I'm using a super sophisticated programmable transmitter with all sorts of bells and whistles on it. But I can tell you this, even with that little bit of headwind, the thing is just handling it, no problem. Let's go up to the crest of this hill, camera crew. Oh, by the way, can you land in the grass? That's a good question. I was wondering that myself. So let's go up here to the crest of the hill just so we have the best chance at success. Camera crew and I will go right here. Just slowly bring it down, no problem. Throttle hold down or towards your belly. Then move the stick down and you're ready to go again. Okay, so we're gonna take off again. So I'm curious what'll happen if you're in idle up. So we'll show the people what happens. If you're in idle up, that's gonna pull you down. So let's see what happens. It's gonna spool up, so you don't wanna do that necessarily, but it is a soft start, okay? So just make sure you get back to basic, you know, your regular safe mode, and that's gonna be your easiest way to take off, okay? Let it spool up to speed. Once you're up to speed, the wind is kind of at this vector. It'd be better if I was perfectly square. Okay, and then just pass the 50, 60, 70% on the collective, and there you are, flying again. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to idle up 2. Okay, so we'll just go in here. Just keep like your middle finger, your index finger on the switch, so if you have problems. And yeah, plenty of control authority to do all the tricks that I can do, which is not much, admittedly, guys. I'm not a 3D heli guy. But the guys that can do the crazy stuff can do all of it. And that's not me. So here on Brian Phillips RC, our big thing is we want to get people flying that aren't flying and not necessarily make them feel bad for not knowing how to do some of these more sophisticated maneuvers. And the truth is, this helicopter is going to do it in such a way that you're not wasting your time just having fun. You're actually going to get to be a better pilot. As you learn to do this, you're going to get to be a better and better pilot. You're going to learn the characteristic traits of this type of helicopter piloting, and you can do it with a really pretty low consequence flight experience. Okay, so now idle up 1. And see, the cool thing is, once you start doing this for a minute, you pretty much get to the point where you realize, oh, I got to actually move that tail. I got to move that tail. I got to actually fly that tail. I got to keep coordinated. You see that? I got to keep it level. And it's got AS3X Plus in it. And so it's very good, but yet, okay, now holding the panic button and going back to the basic safe mode. And as you can see, while we're flying, the whole time we're flying, guys, look at this. We have 1 green light flashing, which means we are at 25% left on the juice level, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and land it. We'll show you how to switch the packs, okay? Just land it right at our feet, okay? Down we go, throttle cuts on. You see that big chunk of wood? You don't wanna get one of those kick up into the blades, okay? So as you can see, this helicopter is a type of helicopter that you're gonna wanna get if you wanna actually learn to fly a helicopter. It's not just a beautiful scale helicopter, although it is beautiful, it is definitely a sport helicopter, okay? So at the end of the day, is it gonna be everything to everybody? I don't know. Camera crew is gonna hold the transmitter for just a minute. One thing I can definitely say about this is they've upgraded many of the features to make this thing more sophisticated, a little bit more robust, better smart electronics in it. Different tail motor, keeps up really nice. And the 850 milliamp hour 3S pack, this is a smart battery. So it does have the auto balancing. It's a Gen 2 pack, but you don't have to use a smart pack to fly this helicopter. You can use a dumb pack if you'd like, but you will have to get adapters likely, or chop off the end and go ahead and redo it. In fact, let's show you how hard it is to switch out the batteries. This is one thing that we've learned from years of filming. Let's go ahead and lay that on the ground, camera crew. Okay, so when you switch a battery on a heli, if it's really hard to switch, you're not gonna fly it much, because if it's too hard to load a battery, you're just gonna err on the side of find something that's easy, okay? That wind is terrible up here compared to the other spot we were filming. Look at this. Okay, so now we did add a little bit of shelf liner on ours because I don't like putting a bunch of Velcro on my packs. But as you can see, this is the battery it uses. I believe you might be able to get away with a little bit bigger battery, and we'll actually evaluate lots of those details in our unbox build radio setup. So if you're brand new to the hobby, you're trying to learn just how to get your feet under you, but you just need some help, we're here for you on Brian Phillips RC. So don't forget to click that bell and get notifications when you do subscribe to the channel. So make sure your throttle cut's on, make sure your throttle stick is down, throttle hold is on, so it's toward me, and we're all the way away from us with this switch, so it's back, okay? That's gonna put you into the safe mode. And then what we're gonna do is we'll take off up here and we'll go fly a little bit more of the collective pitch, the idle up. Now you can either hold this still or you can lay it down. It'd be better to lay it down, but if it's not totally level, it can sometimes fail to initiate. So just pay attention, and if it doesn't snap to life, then that means you probably are not gonna snap to life until you get it level, okay? So I believe that's pretty close. The other thing you can do is you can pick up your transmitter and you can see these four lights here on the DXS. It's gonna tell you your battery level of your flight pack, which is inside of the device there, okay? So yep, everything's working. It must have snuck to life already. Throttle cut's on. So before I put that cover on, which by the way, if you have covers from the 230S, you should be able to use a lot of the components. One of the components you can't is the tail is a little bit different. And this is also a bigger boom, okay? So that's definitely a good thing. And we'll go over all the details that we noticed in our unbox build radio setup. So if you're curious about that, and if you need a little bit more help, then please do stay tuned for the unbox build radio setup, which should follow directly after this flight. Now, keep in mind, we are not using a programmable transmitter, but we have aspirations to do that at some point. And so if you're wanting to see that, then just leave it in the comments below. We plan to do it at some point in the near future, but for now, we're just gonna step back a little bit, get that tail pointed right at you if you're brand new. Throttle cut, or throttle hold in this case, is toward me. Make sure you're away from you with this switch, so you're not an idle up. Make sure the stick is down, and then unlock it. And then you're gonna spin this past that big bar there. There's little bars. And then about here, it's gonna start to roll and go up in the air rather. And then about there, it's gonna start gaining altitude and go up, okay? And then when you switch to the idle up 1 and idle up 2, you're gonna be more neutral at this point. You're gonna not go up, you're gonna not go down, okay? So here we go. So let it spool up. So you're just a little bit below 0, okay? And then you don't want it to take off prematurely, because now that it's spun up, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little bit of throttle. There we go. Okay, see? And then you see how it pushes toward us a little bit? You can trim these things, but I'm not gonna go into the trim because there is a whole procedure for that to do a trim flight. We're getting pushed by wind, folks, okay? So one of the things I like to do as a pilot, I like to fly in ground effect with helicopters because it's trickier than it looks to actually do it. And so I like flying in ground effect because it gets me close for video footage, because we do a YouTube channel. And then also it helps me to see the position of the helicopter because my eyes aren't as good as I'd like them to be. And so that gives me a really good shot of what's happening. Now that's one thing that's really, really cool about flying helicopters is you can fly them in tight areas, whereas with airplanes, you really can't always do that. Now we're gonna try to scooch down here real quick, so I'll make a nice, easy to follow pattern, and we'll just come over here to kind of the crest of this hill and see if we can get out of the wind a little bit. That wind is driving, and I happen to have a cold, folks, so my apologies if you hear some sniffles, you understand why. Okay, so let's do this. Down by the rocks. Very cool, look at that, look at that. That is so pretty. Down the damn runway we go. And guys, I'm barely pushing it. The thing's got a little bit of speed to it. I'm gonna try to go up above the trees so you can see really good. And so flying this thing it's not hard to fly. It's kind of like flying an airplane. If you're used to flying airplanes, you should be able to fly this thing pretty easy, especially in the safe mode, okay? But one thing I can tell you right now is that even with the DXS, I'm surprised at how well the thing is controlling, okay? And so even with the wind, I'm not afraid to, like, you know, go in here by Long Island and just kind of fly into that area by Long Island and then fly around these trees and stuff. It's really pretty easy to do. And then as you can see, when it comes time to get more aggressive, then you can just switch into idle up 1 or idle up 2. Just make sure you got your finger covering the switch in case you make a mistake or you lose orientation, so that you can do your crazy tricks. Idle up 2. And you can do them really easy because you've got plenty of authority. Now, I am curious if I can hover this thing upside down just to show you that it can be done. Obviously, I'm kind of a sucky pilot, so don't blame the helicopter. Yeah, I can hover. And the crazy thing is, once you start flying this thing, you're gonna realize, holy cow, like I can actually do this. And then you just pull that trigger for a second, AKA the button, and then you can get your coordinates and your wits about you. And what I really wanna do is I wanna get into a super upset attitude at altitude, and then I'm gonna show you what the bind button does. So this will be the panic button. I'm gonna go up, get totally upside down, and then bind, panic button. And then I'm gonna switch back, guys. Look at that, look how easy that was. Total save. Now, of course, I could have done it lower for more dramatic effect, but really what we're trying to do on this channel is not necessarily show just how insane a helicopter can be flown, but more show that you can fly even a capable helicopter without having to be insane. And that's one of the things I love about flying these helicopters from Blade, is sure, there might be something out there that's a little bit more sophisticated, and I am flashing, so I'm gonna get out here, like right now. Okay, so guys, real quick, camera crew, I'm gonna just land over on the damn runway, okay? So getting hard in the throttle as we lower down. Actually, I wanna land on this helipad, so if you could just stay where you are, I'll go around you. Okay. So the helipad here is one that we use sometimes. I need to get it probably a little bit more level, but if I can land on this helipad, then we're doing good. The wind is somewhat blocked here, but we probably have about a 5 to 10 mile an hour gust. Nothing crazy. I just want to see if I can do this. This is one of the reasons I love flying these helicopters, is because you actually have to fly them. It's not like you've got some GPS that's doing it all for you. This is all me and safe. Okay, so down and then throttle hold. Okay, throttle hold's on, safe mode's on. Oh, and we had a second flash. It must have recovered a little bit.
Oh.
But at the end of the day, I don't want to be over the water when the battery goes low, because then it's going to go plop, and I'm not jumping in after it right now. It's too cold. We just had ice on this pond like 2 days ago.
Yesterday.
So in conclusion, are we bummed we didn't get this thing in time to release with the other guys? We were a little bit bummed, but I'm going to tell you something. This helicopter is really good, and I think you're going to enjoy it. It's going to be around for a long time. The 230S was a great heli, and this thing just builds on it, okay? If you already have a 230S, you have a really similar feel, but this thing's a little bit tighter. It's a little bit more refined. Is it night and day? To me, it's not. But that doesn't mean that there won't be people that do more 3D, upside down flying, try to do TikToks and things like that, that I just can't do yet as a unskilled heli pilot. But I don't want you to think that all those maneuvers can't be done just because I don't know how to do them. There's a high probability that you'll find success doing basically any of the maneuvers you want. That being said, I really appreciate that Blade gives us a helicopter that you can learn to fly on, and it's actually a skill level 1. Now, anybody can say that, but then to actually deliver a helicopter that does it, that's 2 different things, okay? We've seen a lot of helicopters that come out from a lot of different manufacturers, and we can fly them. But I feel like they make it too easy, so you don't really learn much. Now, that's not to take away from these other helicopters, because I really still like them a lot. And I truly do, because I love scale helicopters. And I'm hoping that Blade will have a few that come out in the near future so that we can wet our whistle on those as well. But the fact that this comes and it flies off of a basic DXS and gets the job done well is really something to write home about. Now, do you need a $600 transmitter to do it? No, you can just get the ready to fly package and you can enjoy it. But if you want to use your $600 transmitter, you can also do that. Now, we'll get another video probably when I get my voice back mostly, but this helicopter is definitely a good choice. Now, who is this helicopter for, in my opinion? It's for the person that has a little bit of experience. They say skill level 1. That doesn't mean that it's like, you know, anybody can fly this. I don't think anybody can fly this. You have to have basics down. You have to know about your positional awareness, because there isn't an optical flow sensor, which is basically a camera that looks at the ground and it sees this little pile, and so it sort of knows that you're moving away from it, so it corrects for that, okay? That'd be an optical flow sensor. That's one of the things we've seen of recent vintage. Secondarily, we have GPS systems that will hold a very specific, hyper-positionally focused position and have flight controllers involved. The problem is that flight controller costs more than this helicopter, okay? So you're just not gonna get that combo in this price point, not from an American manufacturer that's using, it's still made in China, but it's sold by an American company. And so that's the other thing I wanna remind you guys about. Well, talks of tariff and all this stuff, I mean, it's always been going on for years and years and years. There's nothing new about it. The truth is right now, you just have to remember that there's always gonna be some stupid going on over here. Don't let it stop you from living your best life right now, okay? This helicopter is available very soon. We're a little bit late to the party, so when you order from the links in the video description below, you won't have to wait as long as you did for the other ones, but only because our video was a few days late. So we appreciate you being patient with us here on Brian Phillips RC. We love bringing you guys high quality RC content where we don't just show what it can do, but we want to show how to do it too, because many of you need a little bit of help. And we're here to give you a helping hand on Brian Phillips RC. So if you're brand new to the hobby or you're just returning to the hobby, we really want to help you get there, okay? And part of the way we're going to help you get there is by showing you the entire unbox build radio setup and not just highlights. Now, that does make for a longer, arguably more boring video, but at the end of the day, our hearts are to bring people up to speed, and we're going to keep doing it as long as you keep watching. So we appreciate you doing that. And remember, if you've got a buddy that wants to fly and you're like, hey, I don't know if I can tell them all the stuff that you tell in these videos, talk them into, get them to sit down, hey, get them to relax and watch the thing. Teach them what they need to learn so that they can be out there enjoying the hobby with you. Or maybe you've got kids. It's hard to get them to watch a long video. I get it. But we have this kind of rule of thumb. If you watch 5 or 6 full unbox build radio setups, first of all, that's a lot of time and we get it. But remember, when you learn a difficult skill, and this is difficult, it's gonna take a little bit of time, but it's also more rewarding. You can't just have $1 million and do this. Exactly. You can have 10 million, 20 million, 100 million bucks, and it doesn't mean a thing. You can buy the most expensive helicopter in the world and you can cream it into the ground in 10 seconds, okay? Or 3, or 1.
Less, yeah.
It could be less than 1 second, it just depends. But I'm gonna tell you this helicopter will be good enough to get you in the air. You're gonna be able to find a certain level of success. And if you do have a mishap, it hopefully won't blow up in 5,000 pieces. But if there was a helicopter you could get parts for, it's gonna be a Horizon offering, okay? So Blade has been around for a long time. That's one of the reasons why I went with a CP1 years and years and years ago, and I barely learned to fly because there just wasn't any aids. It was like a tail gyro was all you could get. Now we have 6-axis gyros and 3-axis gyros and auto leveling. There's never been an easier time to learn a very difficult skill than right now. So what I'm trying to tell you is don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for the lotto win. This isn't that expensive. You can do it. We'll show you the cheap options, and then we'll show you what most people do. And if every once in a while you want to do the premium option, we'll usually show those too, okay? So the unbox is coming right now. If we left something out and you're curious about it, we'll do our best to answer. But remember, this is an early release, so for us, it's new too. So leave it in the comments below if you have questions. If you want to buy one and support Brian Phillips RC and help us in all these crazy RC projects that you see, building our aerodrome, namely, putting this building up, which is happening right here pretty soon. We are this close. It's killing me. We're working with engineers right now. The engineers are getting plans so that we can span over the 45 by 18 foot hydraulic door. It's coming. It's going to be very expensive and very scary. We trust you guys are going to not abandon us halfway through because you've been good to us for almost a decade now doing this. And so our heartfelt thanks to you for helping to make us part of your RC experience and helping to propagate this reach that we have to the world and the good that we can do within the RC industry, which is to help people get out of the chair and into the air, telling the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. And that means not fluffing and saying, hey, I can fly this thing upside down and it's perfect and it's easy and it'll never break and it's gonna be fun and you're never gonna have a frustrating moment. We film the frustrating moments, guys. We do it on Brian Phillips RC right before your very eyes. So also, if you don't like this heli and it's maybe a little bit below your grade, or you want to go a little higher, or you've got more money burning a hole in your pocket, we'll help you with that too. Head over to brianphillipsrc.com, or if you prefer short links, BP, Brian Phillips, RC radio controlled, .me, whatever that stands for. And that's our short link. It'll take you to the same place, and you can compare and contrast this beautiful helicopter against other offerings that we've reviewed in the past. And this would definitely be firmly in the beginner helicopter aircraft arena, okay? It's not gonna be the most sophisticated. It's certainly not gonna have all metal components. It's certainly gonna be not that expensive, but also at the same time, you're not gonna take off and be like scared that it's gonna hit you in the face immediately, okay? Unless the wind blows your direction, in which case you need to learn to fly. We'll help you do it. Also, if you don't have a simulator yet, the simulators can help a lot with this, but if you're anything like me, a grown man, I learn best with consequences. I'm not saying that's true for most people. Most kids learn better with simulators because they play video games. I learn better with real consequences, because if there's no pain associated to the failure, then I don't learn as quick. That may not be true for you, but I do suggest that those that don't need that get real flight. It is a tool and not a video game. Even though it's sold as a video game on Steam, we have links to all that stuff in our video description below. And if you can't find it there, we have it close by, okay? So when you order this airplane or helicopter or whatever it is you're reviewing, battery, we have links to help you support Brian Phillips RC. Now, if you don't want to buy this and you want to still throw a couple of bucks our way, we appreciate it. But really at the end of the day, we just don't want you to live vicariously through us. We want you to be flying with us, okay? So we have Patreon for monthly support, YouTube members for monthly support, YouTube super thanks for one-time support, and PayPal for one-time support. All appreciated. But like I said, and we say it a million times in our videos, we just want to encourage you to find success in your own way. This helicopter might be the ticket to success for you. And that's why we bring it to you today. So thanks to Blade for working with us. This thing is pretty awesome. I think you're gonna like it. It's a good helicopter. It's not gonna be everything to everybody. And anybody who says that is just giving you a line of what you wanna hear, okay? That's not what you wanna hear. You want somebody that's gonna tell you the truth. That's what we do. Stay tuned, unbox next. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We're gonna open this box right now. I'm guessing you probably already know what it is from the thumbnail and from the other videos you've seen. Wow, amazing, look at that. It's a Blade 230S Smart. It's the Revo 235. How is that even possible? That box says 230 Smart. What is going on, 230S? Yeah, that's because they don't have the real boxes yet. So this is an early release, guys. So it's kind of fitting that we have the old box around it. This old box will help you to see some of the physical differences in this helicopter. The 230S is one of the long-lasting Blade traditions, if you want to call it, like a small helicopter that's good to learn to fly with, and they're re-releasing it. You may have noticed it went out of stock, and now this one is available, or this one will be, the one that's inside of here, which is called the Revolution 235, and it is going to have the newest, latest and greatest AS3X Plus and Smart technology built in. So without further ado, we're going to open it up. Now also keep in mind, please, with some of these early release things that we get in, we don't always have the factory packaging that you're going to see. So if you see some minor differences there, don't be bent out of shape too bad. But look how stinking beautiful this thing is. First thing I can tell is by picking it up from this boom is really nice and thick and strong. And yes, we do have a beautiful big brushless motor here. And then this has a gear driven from a brushless motor up here too. And then it looks like our flight controller is down inside of here, which I can't get my eyes on it. But as you can see, the thing is just gorgeous. It looks really nice. I'm gonna take my blade protector off here. And forgive me for kind of have a cold right now. I didn't when this was supposed to come. It also was dead calm for 2 days. But FedEx wanted the helicopter more than I did.
Apparently.
So here it is, guys. We've got a bag of goodies. This is the bag of goodies. I never use any of that stuff, but I leave them in the box because then it's easy to find. And you may have noticed that this has a transmitter, but don't get too excited because technically this is not ready to fly. It's a
ready to fly.
It's a ready to fly
basic,
which means because we're in America, where they want to control so much of our lives, hopefully that's changing, you have to get your own batteries. And to be honest with you, your batteries might come for this because there is a slot right here, okay? So that's 4 AA's, okay? They go right there. And that will run your DXS. And then the second thing you need to provide on your own, and remember, this is a remote ID requirement, okay? So even if this is sub 250, which I believe it is, which we'll check real quick here, then you are gonna have to provide your own battery. And that's why you wanna make sure you either have an 850 milliamp hour Gen 2, the new Smart Pack here, it's 3S. You can get this charging bundle here. And I'm gonna show you exactly how to charge this. In fact, we'll just open this up right now and show you how to charge, because this runs on an 850 milliamp hour, but it doesn't have to be a smart battery, full disclosure. You can use non-smart batteries. You'll still get telemetry and everything too, just not as much telemetry. Okay, you're not gonna get the cell by cell count. You're just gonna get nominal voltage. Okay, so this is the smart battery. You can see it's got an EC2 on it, okay? And it says it requires a smart spectrum charger. And so this one comes with the adapter, which is kind of nice, because then you can plug that in and then you can go to your smart chargers, because most of them have an EC3, not an EC2. And in this case, we're gonna be looking at this white style. And this comes with all the stuff you need to get it going, with the exception of a USB power supply, okay? And so the way this works is you would take this little S120, so that's one channel, 20 watts. It's very low power. It's not a very powerhouse style charger, and that's why it's cheap, okay? So when you get this power bundle, if you buy it this way, you'll just unpack it like this. Oh, and by the way, I always point this out, if you're brand new to the hobby, which you might be if you're getting this helicopter, okay? This would be considered a beginner helicopter, but it's got lots of features to make it easier to fly. But just remember, guys, helicopters are kind of hard to fly. Not like they were, trust me. This thing shows all the connectors. Show them that while I find a USB plug. Show them, point them out.
So we have EC2, and we're gonna be or IC2, and we're gonna be plugging into an IC3 on the charger. There's the old EC.
Okay, ready, guys? So the S120 charger needs to have USB power. So I'm just grabbing this charger from one of our kids' tablets. And by the way, just so you can tell, this thing doesn't put out a lot of power. It's 1.35 amps at 5.2 volts. So the wattage is very low. So plug it in. Then you got a white light that comes on, and then you can plug this in. Now, that's gonna change the light condition, and because I happen to have an XBC battery checker / checker is what they call it now, it's starting to flash. So it's going through a series of flashes. If you wanna learn how all those flashes correspond to what's happening in reality, check the manual. I'm gonna tell you this, if you intend to fly, this charger will get you started. It's gonna do very little past that, okay? This is a cheaper tool, XBC 100. I'm gonna just show you real quick. You can unplug this from the charger, plug this in, and it's gonna tell you the status of the battery, okay? It's also gonna let you set settings once it initiates all the smart data. It might just take a second, sometimes it does. Oh, there it goes. So I'm gonna click this. See how it says 72 hours? Now I can make my changes here. Let's just change it part of the way. Normally I set them to 250 hours because we want them charged for a long time. So 109 hours, okay? To go back, you just hold. And if you do a short press, then you can run your servo testers and stuff, okay? So like this, which is pretty cool. So I'll unplug that. This is definitely not included in the kit. Don't mean to diminish the fact that this is a smart battery, but you don't have to use a smart battery to fly this helicopter, okay? Now let's come over here to a charger that you're probably gonna end up with, something more like this, okay? This charger has 2 IC3s and 2 IC5s. I'm gonna plug this in right now, and you'll see that the data comes in. It's gonna initiate smart charger, okay? And then what I can do is I can press and hold this. See, it tells us what the current setting is, and I can stop it from here, and then I can press and hold, and then I can scroll down, to smart settings. Boom. See how it says 109? Remember when I just set that on that other device? Now I'm gonna set it to 240 hours. I think I might have said 250. If I did, I apologize. It's like 10 days. And then you'll notice Gen 2 storage voltage is 3.9. That's to kind of give it a little bit more cushion before it would die. Okay. And when we say die, we mean fail to start charging. Okay, so we can hit start. Now this also will automatically start. So I'm gonna show you with another battery, similar style, definitely older. I'm gonna show you what happens. This is another great option if you wanna buy something that's reasonably inexpensive. 55 watts, one channel, but then that gets you up to the IC5 plug. But I'm gonna just tell you this, you're not gonna get many 4S packs that need the IC5. There are a few, and we have them, but it's unusual, okay? You might just plan to go straight to the S2200 as soon as you know you're hooked, or the S1200, or the S1100, or the 1400. I wouldn't get a 400 watt single channel, I get a 200 watt dual channel, because 400 watts is a lot of wattage for one battery. And if you are the type of person that needs 400 watt charging, you need a dual charger, okay? So I'll just show you how this one works. It plugs in. See this? That's an adapter actually, whoops. So look at this, here's another adapter, because obviously, can't do it, okay? But you can do it when you plug this in. Yep. Okay, so once that's plugged in, you go from IC2 to IC3, and then you just plug it in and you're ready to rock and roll. Now watch this thing, 11.8 volts, so it's already at storage voltage. And then that's as simple as that. It's gonna start charging, and then you can just back up for a little bit. So I'm gonna go to another battery. You're probably thinking, good Lord, Brian, how many of these do you have? Not enough. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this in the other hole, right here, the second hole. It squeals, means you did it right, okay? Then I'm gonna plug this one in to another adapter. I'm gonna turn this charger on using my favorite feature, which is a rocker switch. Because I leave all these things plugged in over here, it works really nice to be able to just flip the switch instead of do this stupid plug. I hate that plug, okay? But one thing I like about this is the display didn't break out. I fixed that twice. This is my favorite charger, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chargers sitting here, plus probably another 35 of them in the garage, okay? We have a lot of chargers. I have a lot of these. You wanna know how many times I use these?
0 times.
Once. So I can show you that they work. And they do work. And truthfully, you don't have to just use it for the small battery. Let me just give you an example. Here's an obviously old battery. It's kind of in rough shape. And I'm just gonna stick it in the hole and show you that it works. Okay, so this is a 4S battery. You can do up to 4S, I believe. And it should start working. Now it's 20 watts, it's pretty slow. So 20 watts, it will take a second, and then once it eventually comes to life, it'll start charging. Yeah, this is 2 through 3S, so it won't charge that one. But it's smart enough to know we'll take a 3S and plug it in. That's why the light condition didn't change. And that's one of the biggest reasons why smart chargers are nice, okay? Because when you have a smart charger, it's gonna help protect you from your own stupidity, like I just did there, okay? If you plug in the wrong type of battery, it's not impossible that you would create a dangerous condition. And that's part of the reason why we really like the smart batteries, is that when you first get into this hobby, especially if you're brand new to helicopters, airplanes, VTOLs, quads, all that stuff, if you don't even know what those things are, you're on the right channel. I'm Brian Phillips, RC, not Rami RC. I like Rami. Rami's a friend. So, as you can see inside of your box, it will look even more cool than my box. You've got all the stuff you need to pack up and take this to the flying field. But just keep in mind, if you have parts from your 230S and you want to use them, a lot of the parts will still fit, but there's a few that won't. One in particular is the tail feather, or the vertical stabilizer, okay? And this tail support is different because it mounts in a different location. And I'm gonna show you that right now. If you wanna just come over here, we'll look at some of the features you can add to this heli, okay? So this is a 230 millimeter blade set. So just to be clear, 230 speaks to this, okay? So 230, figure about 1/4 of a meter, right? So there'd be 4 of these would make about a meter, okay? So it depends on how big the swash plate is and everything, how big the actual blade set is, okay? But they measure helicopters by that size class. So it's kind of like EDFs, electric ducted fans. We talk about a 90 millimeter EDF or an 80 millimeter EDF, but we don't generally talk about the wingspan just because it's not normal, okay? Helicopters are listed by this number, 230, and that usually speaks to the size. And then now it says CP for collective pitch or FP for fixed pitch, like that little helicopter over there. That's an FP, okay? So fixed pitch. Fixed pitch helicopters are not gonna allow you to fly upside down. Collective pitch helicopters are gonna allow you to fly upside down. And how do they do that? Is they use this thing, okay, called a swash plate, and they move 3 servos, go up and down, and they change the angle of this little plate. And it goes up and down, and then it changes the pitch of each of the blades collectively to go up and collectively to go down. But if you were upside down and you collectively tell them to produce a negative thrust, it's going to fly upside down. And it's almost unbelievable the first time you see a helicopter fly upside down. And if you're on the interweb, then you will know. These things can and will, and I'll demonstrate as much as I can within my skill set that they can fly upside down. But that's one of the biggest things that you want to consider when you're considering an actual trainer helicopter, okay? I consider this to be a trainer helicopter. Now, does that mean there's not millions of other choices out? There are literally millions of them, okay? Most of them are gonna leave you wanting more cool looking helicopters, but they're not gonna teach you to fly a helicopter. And that's why I like this. I like the 330S, and I like the different good collective pitch helicopters that help teach us as airplane people how to fly helicopters, okay? Because I'm predominantly an airplane guy, as you can tell from my living room. But there's quite a few helicopters out anymore. And that's because I'm a scale guy. I love scale looking planes. I love the perspective of watching a plane fly. That's why you'll almost never see me do FPV, because I don't want to do FPV. I want to do third person. I want to see it. Like I'm in the audience of an air show, except I get to control the aircraft, which is super fun. So, coming back to the different blade sets, we were talking about 230 millimeters. You might notice that this model number is a 235. That doesn't mean that they're bigger, it just means that they have changed their classification, okay? So I just wanted to point that out. And you can see this tail has a different design, and you can see you can customize yours. And these things are super cheap, guys. I mean, like all these different individual components, you know, you're talking about like 10 bucks, 12 bucks for stuff like this. Carbon fiber blades might be a little bit more, but the thing is, when you get your helicopter, follow the links in the video description below. We'll show the results for this helicopter, and there'll be some competitive offerings there as well. But this might be another good one for the local hobby shop. So you can see that, look at that. See, this one's bigger, but it's got the same bolt pattern, okay? So it pulls this away. It pulls this away. Now, I'm not gonna change it off of stock for the sake of this video, but I just wanna show you that these things do exist. Now, the other thing too is if you don't like the white landing gear, they do have black landing gear, which some people will really be hard on about wanting a certain color. And there's also a couple new adapters that I wanna talk about, okay? And these new adapters are right here. You wanna read those off quick?
Yep, so this one is an IC2 battery to the JST device.
Why would we need that?
If you are using an old battery, right?
How about I grab a 3S pack and we'll show them. This is not the right type of battery, but it'll at least give us a JST end. So this would be what we consider to be a dumb battery. Even though it looks like it's smart, it's actually not. This is just a dumb battery with a Hextronics balanced lead, JST HX connector with a JST. It's actually called an HX JST something or another, and there's so many millimeters of pitch on these. So this would, here, we'll just show you. It pops out like that. And then booyah, right here. Whoops, I gotta plug it in the right direction though. They are keyed. And look at that, that protected me from myself. And then you can use this in this helicopter. Now, would I use this small of a battery in here? Because they're calling out an 800. This is only a 300, or 850 rather. So yeah, there's a 600 you might use, but I probably wouldn't go with 300. You'll probably overload this pack, it'll puff. But show them the next one too.
So then this one is an IC2 device to a JST battery.
Oh, okay.
So that's just the opposite direction.
So I need to grab one of those batteries then, eh?
Yeah.
Looks like they're all going still.
And
This one's
then-
almost done. Ooh, I've got one.
Okay.
So here's another one, guys. You may also notice that I wrapped this tape around here with some Velcro, because sometimes when I do airplanes, I hate putting Velcro on my packs. Was this for the Draco, the micro Draco? I can't remember what it was for. No, it flies on 4S. This is 3S. I can't even remember what it was for, but I do that sometimes, and then I just leave them on the batteries. But this one here is gonna get you, and we show you these things because we'll link to all these different adapters. But the cool thing is then you're back to kind of dumb pack status as well. So if you have a lot of these smart batteries, but you have other devices you wanna run on them, like say you wanna run like some little FMS car or something like that, it's got a JST, and you think you can get away with 3S instead of 2S like they normally come with, stick that thing on there. You've got a super high quality auto balancing Gen 2 pack that will keep this thing running great. Man, you would just deplete that thing like crazy on a car.
Or if you have an old helicopter and you get this in the ready to fly and you want to use it, your new batteries.
Just to be clear, this Blade 230 had the EC2 connector already on it.
Okay.
Right? Because we already had that in the smart world. By the way, look at this. This battery that we were questioning, it's now charging, okay? So yes, this charger will work. You may notice this video is a little bit disjointed. That's just the way we do it on Brian Phillips RC. There's so much information that I want to get out of here and into your brain, but it's really hard for me to do it in a strictly chronological order because there's so many things happening. See that? Channel 2. It's done. You can press down and you can see the cell counts all the way through this and into this battery. Okay, so I can unplug that. This one's ready to rock and roll. Pretty sweet. That one was mostly charged. I think I might have done that the other day when we were thinking things were supposed to show up.
Yep.
Now look at this. Channel 1 is not highlighted, so I can highlight channel 1 and then just look at the data. Scroll down. Yep, we're just bringing up the cells. So no big deal. Oh, and that reminds me, there was one more battery that we need to charge, which is gonna be over here, so I'll grab this one and show you. This is why I love smart packs, and I've now demonstrated it like 5 times. This will be the 6th, okay? Watch how hard this is. Look, stick it in a hole. Listen to it squeal. Okay, once it squeals, you know it's going, all right? So, one more and really cool adapter I wanna show you. And yes, adapters, I know some of you at home are thinking, they're not cool, Brian, they're adapters. Yeah, but still, I think they're cool. This one, I got so excited about this. I got more excited about this than I did the hoods. Sorry, Horizon, because this is really cool. I like this one a lot because look at this. This is the type of thing we need in helis, okay? When you have an IC2 and you need to go into an IC3, look how small that is now.
Yeah.
It's like barely the size of an actual IC3, which is so cool. So look, here's the done battery. Check this out, watch this. Boom. And you get the smart lead too. So now, if you wanted to run a really small apparatus, look at this, how much bigger that is compared to a regular. It's barely any bigger. It's got maybe, what? Would you call that like 4 millimeters, 3 millimeters? Get right up on top of it. Up. There you go, right there. That's barely any extra lead. And look at this, we got some exposed copper. What's going on there? You need to pull the pants down and fix it. You see what I just did there, guys? I grab with 2 fingers and just pull the silicone down, okay? And by the way, these pants are so nice compared to regular heat shrink. And I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. Here on Brian Phillips, we dig in and we share real information that's helpful for you as a brand new pilot. Some of the other guys on YouTube are just, you know, hey, strictly want to show you what this plane does, this helicopter does. That's fine, we do that too. But here's an example of a competitive offering that's not smart. Look at the heat shrink. You can see the little puddle of solder bulged up here. This is an XT60 connector, somewhat inferior, some would say. Some would say that the IC3 connector is one of the better ones. I'm one of those people because I really like the way they work. EC3 on the other hand, I'll give you an example of an EC3 connector here. EC3, yeah, I hate them. IC3, awesome. And you're probably thinking, that's an E-flite connector. It's the same current handling. It's essentially the same thing. This is kind of a weird one because it's an adapter so that we can facilitate using this from one of these batteries, okay? But basically, when you're dealing with EC3, or better yet, EC3, you've got just, they don't always line up really good. There's like slop and play in them. These things have no slop, no play. And the other thing is, when you build those connectors, you have to build them and then like pop them in from the back. It's really awkward. So you have to feed the wire through, solder it, and then pull it back in. These ones, you can break this thing off, which I'm not gonna do it on this one, but you can actually break those pants loose. You can pull the pants down, and then you can do your solder joints underneath. You see, this is what really happens in real RC. Stuff gets dirty, okay? See how that's pulling apart? If I really wanted, I could pop that off, slide it down. You can see the solder joints. You can put taps on there. You can put the pants back on, they clip back on, and you're ready to rock and roll. Whereas you go to a competitive offering like the XT90, and you're always stuck with heat shrink, okay? And heat shrink's not all bad, but then look at the support that's lacking on these. These have really come downhill. Some of them are really crappy. Some are really good. I had one the other day that broke on me. Was that the yak? I can't remember what it was. But anyway, that literal connector broke.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It just chipped on the edge, and I was able to use it still, but it was super annoying.
Plastic is getting cheap.
So we will link to all these adapters because they are one of the hardest things to find. So when you're on Brian Foltz RC, one of the biggest ways to support us, if you find any value from these videos, which I'm sure you will, if you're brand new to the hobby and you're not finding value in this, it's because you already know everything you need. You don't need a channel like this. But we're really here to help bring people back into the hobby that have quit, have been out for 4 or 5 years, maybe 10 years, and they just need help because you're not gonna know anything about this stuff.
Yeah.
Or if you're brand new to the hobby and you're trying to get into the hobby and you're like, I don't even know, like a battery's a battery. I just need to go buy the most expensive one that I need that's gonna work, right? No, you need to know how many cells. You need to know what generation, if you're getting smart batteries or dumb batteries. You need to know what the C rate is. You need to know what the other C rate is. Yep, they're both called C rates. It's ridiculous. You need to know what type of charger. You need to know what chemistry, whether it's LiPo or lithium iron phosphate or it's lead or whatever. And we'll help you sort through all that stuff so you can have this funnel of like broad information down to what do I need to fly. Another battery's done, which is good. And that's what we do on this channel is we take it from the box and we get you into the air, okay? And I'm talking from the packaging from FedEx that lost our first one, thanks FedEx, to actually flying in the air. And we show you all the consequences of bad decisions that I made, and we try to teach you guys so you can learn from those mistakes. Because at the end of the day, everybody makes mistakes. We just want to get a little bit better each time, okay? So if you want to help support us, one of the best things you can do is look in the links of the video description below. And when you see a helicopter or an airplane or whatever it is, maybe it's a transmitter that you want to buy, you can follow the link and you can buy it. And if you follow the link and you're like, hey man, that's too much money, I need to save up for it, fine, just follow the link when you're ready to buy. Or maybe you want to buy an upgraded transmitter like this. Instead of using the ready to fly option, you can actually get a programmable transmitter. I have more than 250 models in this. You're not supposed to be able to have more than 250 models in Spectrum Airwear. I have proven them wrong. I have like 300 plus in here. So we'll show you how to do that, but we're gonna actually start with the provided transmitter. Now, coming full circle, we talked about, obviously the ways you can support us is to buy the stuff from the links. You know, buy this from the links, buy the transmitters. And one of the biggest troubles is it's hard to find. Like some of the stuff is like weird. Like how do I find that weird doohickey to the other doohickey to the other? And why do I even know that I need it? Well, because you watch it on a video like this, we're gonna teach you in context how it works and why you might need it. And not just show you, hey, look, it's orange, you should buy this. Hey, look, it's green, you should buy this. Although you should, if you like green. Looks pretty sweet. I'm gonna fly mine with all 3 on. I'm just kidding. But if you really like the original 230, okay, that looks pretty much like the original, as you can see. So a lot of people really liked the 230, and I think that's why we have this blade set. Now there is one other set of blades that is not included in this kit. And to be honest, I love the way the new one looks. And I gotta tell you something. The more visibility you can squeeze out of a helicopter, the more you're gonna see it. And that is one of the biggest drawbacks of this helicopter, is that you would think bigger is worse because it's more complicated and it's more expensive. That's not always true, because the older you get And the more these eyes start to fail you, the more you're gonna want size, okay? But remember, there's less danger, there's less risk, there's less cost, and those are all still true on this size class. So when you're looking in the video links below, in the video description, and you're trying to figure out what you need to buy, we're gonna help you sort through what you need, because we really don't care what you buy as long as you're in the hobby, you're loving it, you're not just vicariously living through Brian Phillips RC and all the amazing RC things we do, like this aerodrome we're building. And guys, it's sunny. I'm gonna show you something real quick. If you didn't know this about our channel, we're getting ready to build a huge building over here. It's gonna be extremely crazy. Move over to the right a little bit so you can see all those. You see those hay bales, those mini bales? Those mini bales, zoom in on them, like super zoom. Super zoom, just go right to 10, boom. Those are mini bales that we create on this property, so we have a baler. Those are marking out where the building's gonna be. That's the face of the building. That's the gable end of the building. And then right in front of it is the damn runway. The damn runway, let's just take it outside for a second. This is one of the big challenges we've been facing lately. And if you're brand new to the channel, this is one of the reasons why you might be interested in following along. It's not just because we're gonna teach you what you need to learn, but we are doing crazy stuff in real time and space because we love this hobby so much that we literally have all this land so we can build an aerodrome. And if you don't know what an aerodrome is, it's like basically an airport, okay? Why do I not just call it an airport? Well, I don't know. An aerodrome is confusing and you have to explain it. So it gives me something to do with my spare time. So that's what we're doing. This pond was built so we could have the damn runway. The damn runway is gonna be 600 feet long here. And we already have about 275 feet of straightaway. That's gonna add 120 feet more on that. There'll be a crossing point. There'll be about 106 degrees, I think, difference between the two for crosswind. And there will be 2 undulations and then 1 undulation. And the building's gonna be at the end of it. It's gonna be awesome. And it's gonna take us, hopefully, no less than 3 years to get it finished. Unless we win the lotto. And then it's gonna be done like in 3 weeks. But we're probably not gonna win the lotto, so it's gonna take like 3 years or 4. But that's our plan. We're working on it. Last year was the pond. The year before was finishing up, basically prepping for this, and show them the pond. It's water again, which is super cool. Yes, I do crash into the water once in a while. We're gonna teach you all the tips and tricks you need for an inclusive, I'm talking every type of RC you can consider right here on Brian Phillips RC, okay? So if you wanna learn how to do stuff, excuse me, I got a cold. If you wanna learn how to do stuff, you're in the right place, because there's a lot of guys online that are teaching you how to buy stuff. We're not just showing you how to buy stuff, we're showing you how to do it, okay? All right, enough of the sales pitch. Back to the heart of the matter, which is flying this thing. Okay, so how do you fly this thing? Our unbox build radio setup usually follows a helicopter, depending on what the product is. This one might be its own video, I don't know. Depends on if we can fly today. The wind is pretty strong, but that's one of the biggest advantages to helicopters is you can fly them in wind, okay? So I'm gonna undo that, and see it's just a grommet. And then I'm gonna undo this, so I just kind of put my finger behind it. I'm gonna warn you though, don't pull real hard, you might break the plastic, okay? So in fact, I'll bring this over here, and I'm just gonna sit down on the corner of the counter here. So this is going to allow you to pop that off, okay? Then once that's popped off, you can pull this forward, just like that, okay? And then you can investigate and look how beautiful that is, which is pretty sweet. Of course, it's plastic, and it looks like the canopy portion is glued in, which is neat because that means you could technically do glass in there, or clear plastic, I should say, okay? So you have a big Velcro swath, super thick strap here. And as you can see, we have a digital Metal Gear servos. If I remember right, those are Metal Gear. Heli cyclic. And then down here, you can see little double-sided tape holds the electronic speed controller, which is a smart speed controller. How do you know it's smart? Because it's got a smart connector on it. Now keep in mind, just because it has this style of connector does not mean you have to absolutely use smart batteries. You use whatever battery you want, okay? Now also, back here you can see this ferrite core where that wire goes through. That one's coming from the smart ESC, and then it goes to the receiver and flight controller down there, which I believe this is all new. And I'm trying to get it to where I can read it. It says it's an AR6250MHXD, which is, it says Revolution 235 CPFC. Not sure. I'm not sure what all that means, but I can tell you this. One of the things that changed is they used a different body design on here that's more robust, okay? Is that foam or is that glue? That's foam. And then this thing is strapped in here with 4 screws, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. When you release those 4 screws, this boom comes out. You wanna know the biggest problem point people have when they're brand new in helis? Crashing and fixing. I have an old Blade CP1. I got that probably 20 years ago, 18, 19 years ago. And I crashed it into my wife's cabinets. They were oak cabinets. Thank God they weren't this MDF crap that we get these days that cost 3 times as much, 5 times as, 7 times as much. Because that oak held up, and all I had to do was pretend like I didn't see it every time I walked through the room for the next 4 years until we sold the house. I hit the wall up there, by the way, with the helicopter.
Yeah.
That was pretty much early in our existence here. What I'm getting at is this. This thing is designed with a beginner in mind. Look how small that is compared to the protection, okay? If you're up here, you're unprotected. If you're down here, you're protected. You're probably thinking to yourself, yeah, but I just want to learn to fly upside down. Okay, this helicopter can help you do it. What's the number one way to help you fly upside down? Safe. Sensor assisted flight envelope, which is a function of the AS3X. AS3X is artificial 3-axis stabilization. They add to it a limit on the bank and the pitch, okay? So as you pitch the helicopter forward, it's gonna limit you so you can't flip all the way over. Now when you shut that off, and you do it here, you'd be in safe. All the way forward is gonna auto level, then you come to idle up, and then you go to idle up 2. So idle up mode 1, idle up mode 2. So what that does is that actually usually spins up the motor a little bit faster, and then it allows at the roughly center of the stick, because this is collective pitch, this stick controls both the pitch and the speed of the motor to a certain extent in basic safe mode. So it flies like, like your run-of-the-mill scale-looking helis, okay? So you do this, it goes up. You do this, it goes down. That can be a function of speed of motor, or it could be a function of pitch of the blades, or a combination there, and we call that a throttle to pitch curve, okay? That's one of the things we'll teach you when we do the radio setup, but we're not gonna do the radio setup on that. We're gonna show you that you can use this cheap included transmitter. That's if you buy it as a ready to fly basic, okay? Now, if you buy this as a bind and fly, you'll just get the heli and you'll have to provide your own transmitter. If you have a DXS, you can technically bind to it. My suggestion is if you're getting this as a bind and fly, you need to have a programmable transmitter, in my opinion. Yes, this will automatically, when binding, pull the data file over. There's not many times that I do that on Brian Phillips RC because it is a lot of work to set up a helicopter compared to setting up many of these planes. Most of them on the left are bind and fly. Well, there's actually bind and flies on both sides and plug and flies on both sides. We will show you every step tediously on every one of these planes that we build. That's part of our commitment to you on Brian Phillips RC. That's why our videos are long. And yes, that does set us at a pretty severe disadvantage for the algorithm. So please help us make up for it by smashing the like button right now, clicking the bell for notifications when you do subscribe, and then just coming back for more, even when you get past the point where you need Brian Phillips RC. Because I'm telling you this, if you watch 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7 videos when you're brand new, you'll be ready to fly. You won't need us, okay? My objective is to teach you out of needing my videos. So you can just watch the maiden flight and say, I like that thing. I must have it. And then you can buy it from the link and still support us. Anyway, that's part of our principal function here on Brian Phillips RC, if that weren't already clear. Okay, so this moves up the helicopter. Now when you go to idle up, then the speed is pretty much going to go to whatever it is, okay? Unless you shut it off or you put on your throttle hold, okay? So throttle hold's off. You're in idle up. As you move up and down, this is going to spin at whatever speed it's designed to spin in. It's usually 65, 75, 85% of throttle, okay? Throttle in an airplane is here. You don't change the pitch of the plane, of the prop on most radio controlled airplanes. There are some, but it's very rare. Very, very rare. But on a helicopter, when you move this up and down in idle up 1 or idle up 2, the function of speed has already been dictated. So you take off in this mode, you get in the air, you kind of do what you need to do, make sure everything's working, then you switch to idle up, and then you do your thing, okay? Now, if you're a really skilled pilot, you can have throttle hold on, and you can be in idle up, and then you can go, start spinning, whoop, The problem is a lot of times what happens is it will spin so fast, it'll torque itself and go out of control and end up destroying itself. So don't do that unless you know what you're doing. I barely know what I'm doing. So if you're watching this thinking, I can handle it, I'm good enough. Okay. Spare parts from the links in the video description below. Right? I'm telling you, I've been there, I've done that, okay? So all these things are nice. Oh, one other thing too, I wanted to point out, these are carbon fiber blades, these are plastic blades, okay? So plastic blades are gonna be a little bit heavier. They're gonna handle a little bit more rigors of everyday life, but the carbon fiber do look pretty stinking sweet, I would say, okay? And for those of you saying, hey, there's competitive offerings that offer more features for less money, and then my point is, yeah, there's probably gonna be other ones, but the other ones aren't gonna teach you to fly. And I'm telling you right now, we just did a helicopter like last week, okay? And it was cool, but it had some problems. And it was a lot more expensive than this. And it's really neat, and anybody could probably fly it. But I'm telling you this, that is not gonna teach you how to fly, and this will, okay? And if you wanna go from, I just barely know how to do it, to, I can go out of safe mode into collective pitch, or idle up, excuse me, and I can start flying and I can flip that thing upside down and do things. This is the type of heli where you can start. Now, I'm not saying that you don't want to come over here and do something like this, which would be like the Fusion 360, or maybe even the Infusion 120. This Infusion 120 is a direct drive. You could fly this inside and stick it to the ceiling if you're skilled enough. I'm not. I don't want to. That's not what I do, okay? But if you just need something a little cheaper, you could get into this Revolution, which is part of the newest lineup, but that is a fixed pitch. You're never gonna flip that upside down because there is no way to produce thrust on fixed pitch unless you run the motor backward, and then it's gonna be hugely inefficient. It's not gonna be efficient enough to fly that thing upside down. And then of course, there's lots of Chinese offerings like this one, and this one's actually a pretty good offering. And then you get back to the Blade one where they're putting scale bodies on it, okay? So that's the 360, is that the Evolution?
Yeah.
Or the Eclipse, sorry, yes. 360. So, when you look at helicopters, there's a million different choices that are gonna get you from where you are to where you wanna be. But I'm gonna tell you this, if you're looking at super expensive, anybody can fly type helicopters like this, I'm just gonna say, you're gonna love them. But if you're an airplane pilot and you don't wanna learn to fly, it might be okay. If you wanna learn to fly, this is how you do it. And you're gonna have a whole lot less money tied up. And there's a plethora of really good scale looking helicopters. And I'm not talking you out of any of that. I'm saying plus this, right? Learn to fly. And that's why I like Flying Blade. Yes, some of the heli schnobs out there are going to be like, no, you need to have this and super robust. And they forget what it's like to be a brand new pilot. They forget. And I catch myself doing that too when it comes to airplanes because we have advanced so much through the ranks. When you're brand new into the hobby, you just need a hand up, okay? And the biggest way you can do that, or the fastest way you can do that, is to get a plane or a helicopter that has safe AS3X Plus. It's gonna get you in the air fast. It's not the absolute cheapest stabilization and auto leveling out there, but it's gonna be one of the best operating. And that's best compared to some of the really expensive stuff that's out there. And just to give you an idea, that yellow helicopter over there is probably what, like 5 times as much as this?
Yeah, about right.
Not quite 5.
Not quite.
But it's a lot bigger, okay? And that's the type of helicopter that you would want to advance to. It also flies on twice the cell count. The battery's gonna cost as much as this helicopter,
right?
Okay? So that's part of the reason why we are very much realists here on Brian Phillips RC. We'll help you get into the NX10 or the NX7E or whatever it is you want to use for programmable transmitter. But in the meantime, we're going to show you how this works. Oh, and getting back to my CP1 story, I sort of distracted myself. I do that a lot. I can never get the boom out. And it drove me so nuts because I can never get the glue to unglue. This has 4 screws, which is super exciting. I don't know if there's also glue in there, but you can get in there and pry that open with a screwdriver too. And then you can pull this tail boom out, and that would actually be a relatively easy thing to do. That's good thinking. But this is robust enough. I'm kind of guessing you're not going to break the tail boom. You'll break other stuff when you crash. Now, that brings me to another point, and this is a very critical and important point. With helicopters, crashes can still happen. They do tend to be more catastrophic than airplanes. You can have a rough landing on an airplane and you can glue that sucker back together and get back in the air. With helicopters, you can't necessarily do that. There's feathering rods here that come out right here and right here, and that lets everything kind of shoot out. And then there's these control linkages here. If you ever see any of these components that are broken, okay, bent, ball links that are too tight, they don't move free, anything like that, or the linkages that go down to the servos, if those things are broken, you need to stop what you're doing, find the component that's broken, follow the link for the helicopter. If you don't have the manual, download the manual and find the part in the exploded view diagrams and try to order a replacement, okay? We talk about fixing stuff all the time here on this channel. This is one of the areas where I just say get the right parts, because these are very, very high-speed parts and things can come free and hit you in the eye holes, okay? And other people in the eye holes. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. And then also safety. The safety margins are huge on these smart packs. So if you end up buying the smart pack that they recommend, which is the 850-3S, then you should have pretty good safety margins built into this just by its technology alone, okay? So I'm not super concerned about that with respect to safety, but you still need to, you know, use your best judgment. You know, don't like go lay down for a nap and charge your batteries, put it on a hard surface. Ours is granite, it's thick, it would, you know, handle a little bit, but we have a ton of batteries here and we take it pretty seriously, guys, because we have 4 kids and we love our house, we love each other, you know, we want to be as safe as possible, okay? And we suggest you do the same. So when you do charge when you're in sight and hearing distance, so that you can make sure that if something kind of goes sideways, you can respond to it quickly, okay? But I'm going to tell you this from personal experience. When it comes to smart batteries, there just isn't that much to watch out for, because if they look like this and they're square and they show up and they're charging well, then you're in good shape. I wish I had a perfect example of a rounded out pack. I wish I had a really good one. This one's probably getting on the edge. That one's pretty much spent, okay? That one was a helicopter too, because the helicopters do chew through packs fast. But that being said, this one, let's see if it's done, just out of curiosity. See if it charged all the way. So I'll just unplug that. That was obviously at storage voltage because it hadn't been used forever. And so I'll just plug it into my XBC battery checker. Very nice. So it's still charging, just working its way up. Now, the other thing too that's kind of cool about this adapter, if you hadn't thought about it, is then you could actually have multiple adapters and you add very small amount of space into your tool bag, okay? So yeah, lots of information in this video. Whenever we do a video that is specifically designed for beginner level aircraft, you're gonna find that we go way into the weeds. And for those of you that are used to watching Brian Phillips RC, you would think, don't you always go deep into the weeds? The answer is actually no. Sometimes we're way worse than other times. So also feel this, it's warm. It's not hot.
Yeah.
But it definitely puts some wattage out. If you guys use a more robust charge, like this is a 65 watt version, that helps a little bit with these chargers because then they'll get more power. Just remember, you can only use as much power as this thing converts. If this draws more, you're gonna get whatever this puts, okay? If you put out more, it's gonna draw what it can draw, and then that'll be your choke point. So remember, in electrical circuits, the choke point is the smallest component, and that either catches on fire and blows up, or it works to that speed. In this case, those things are all regulated power supplies. They should be pretty safe. Okay, so we got 4 batteries sitting here. We don't need this particular little doohickey, and we want to get this thing set up to fly. And yes, you're probably thinking to yourself, good Lord, Brian, are you gonna ever like actually get batteries in the transmitter? The answer to your question is yes, we're gonna do it right now. All right, so real quick, I answered my question, sub 250, not. So this helicopter, that explains why it doesn't come in a full ready to fly. And I should have known better. Folks, I'm sorry to confuse you if I did earlier, I didn't mean to. So if you guys are going to use a remote ID because you want to fly like at the high school or whatever, then there's a couple of different options that we recommend. Obviously, this is super cheap, but this is the Sky Module. So the Sky Module can be fitted wherever you can fit it on this helicopter. And you can use a separate battery, or you can steal power from something as simple as that, okay? And you're like, but isn't that the bind plug? Yeah, pretty much. But you should be able to get power from that. And when you buy this Sky module, I'm just gonna dump out my stuff here. If you fly in a free, you don't need anything, so you're fully legal. Okay, so you see this? This would then stick into this right here. So if you're flying part 107 or whatever and you're legal, then you can do that even if you're inside of a FRIA, okay? But if you're in a FRIA, most of the time, you're not gonna have an issue. If you're flying for recreational purposes, it's not really an issue. And we aren't your nanny. We're not gonna call and tell the government on you. And like I said, I think I said it in the last video, hopefully Doge will clean some of that stuff up and get the FAA out of our lives on toys, for God's sake, but I'm not holding my breath. These things have come down a little bit in price, which is where they should have been from the beginning. When an oppressive government demands some new technology that doesn't exists, then this is what you get. So anyway, it's definitely not sub 250, and that's important to understand for two reasons. One, if you want to fly this thing in the backyard and you want to be compliant, get a remote ID or get a FRIA, okay? Whichever one's easier. All right, back to the rest of the work, all right? So I'm gonna click this. This requires Spectrum Smart Charger, don't care about that. And then the other thing I always cut off is this right here. I always take this off because I don't want that in the way every time I go to use my helicopter, okay? So I'm just gonna get in there carefully and just cut it, and then I'll just pull carefully. And I got everything but one little chunk, so that's good enough for what I need. So now, ours didn't come with AA's. But yours may come with AA's. And if it came with AA's, then put the AA's in. We're gonna show you exactly how to do that right now. The AA's are usually included with ready-to-fly helicopters, especially branded from Horizon. But because of the remote ID rules, they've changed some of they have to leave out a certain percentage of components that are required to make it work. Mm-hmm. And so as a result, maybe that's one of them. Or maybe it's just because our product sample was not included. So we're gonna pop this open. Regular battery, AA, okay, 2, okay, 3, and 4. Okay, so pretty simple stuff. Now, full disclosure, this DXS has telemetry functions. It will see the value of your battery right there. You'll be able to see it. And not this battery, not these batteries, this battery that's in the heli. So as you fly, you'll actually be able to see what's going on, which is pretty sweet, okay? So, a couple things. If you're brand new to the hobby and you're just really nervous type of person and you wanna take this thing apart, go ahead and take it apart if you want, okay? This is throttle hold. Towards your belly, it's on, so it won't spin up. All the way away from you, not towards you, but away from you. That's gonna get you into the safe mode in most cases. And then this will be your rates, usually on F. And then I don't know what D is. So we can confirm that right now and we'll come right back. All right, so we just double checked the manual. Yes, we're correct. So this would be like your auto leveling mode, then your stunt mode 1 or idle up 1, and then stunt mode 2 or idle up 2. This one doesn't have a function right now, but it still actually operates something. It just isn't doing anything on this model, okay? Then of course this is gonna lean you forward, lean you back, lean you to the right, lean you to the left. This will yaw you to the left, yaw you to the right, and then move either the helicopter up or it's gonna leave you neutral, move you up, move you down if you're level, or move you down and move you up if you're upside down, okay? And that's the basic controls. This is dual rate, so it's gonna be like more sensitive or less sensitive, depending on how you do that, and you'll just wanna get a feel for it. I would just start with sticks up. This one towards you will keep you safe when you first initiate. Now, if you start in the wrong mode, it's hopefully not gonna let you start, but I don't know that for a fact. And then this is what we call the bind button or also panic button. So when you're flying, if you get confused, just press this button really quick and it'll auto level that thing. It'll snap to level, okay? So what I wanna do is I wanna show you how to load the battery now. So you undo the strap. Camera crew is gonna take some time and remark the video. You see this? This is nice. Look, you don't have to worry about hitting the gear or the motor like on some other helicopters that we have. That's kind of nice. So hold this in there real tight. You're probably thinking to yourself, boy, that slides around a lot. Is there anything that can be done about that? Yes, I'm glad you asked. If you're ever in a situation where you don't like doing Velcro, like me, okay? And I hate Velcro. I hate it with a passion. What you can do is you can use shelf liner. This happens to be a solid shelf liner, okay? And we have bags of like literal extra Velcro from other projects. And so this is a tip that will make your battery stay put so much easier if you refuse to use Velcro like me, okay? So here's a little chunk of Velcro or hook and loop or whatever you want to call it. And I don't know what brand it is. I'm sure it's probably not Velcro. And look, that holds on there really nice. And it doesn't need to hold that great. And then all I'm gonna do is this stuff is just like what you would put inside of your shelves, and then it stops things from slipping. So like, doesn't slide, slides really easy. Over here, with a little bit of pressure, it's like not gonna move, okay? So then I just take this, stick it on there wherever it fits, boom. Then I grab some scissors, and we just scissor it. Like this. Now you could do a bigger piece if you wanted, but really it's gonna be mostly wherever you put the friction, okay? So right here, boom, simple. Now that doesn't come with your helicopter, so don't be surprised if you don't have it in there. It won't be in there. Okay, now I can just press down with my thumb, pull it tight with my other thumb, and then look at this, guys. Now it's in there, super easy to load, and I'm just gonna hold all this so it doesn't move. That thing is going nowhere, okay? So then I'm left with another piece of Velcro.
Oh, good.
I know, because in case I didn't want to run out.
Right, it's terrible.
Especially that shelf liner.
Yeah.
Got just enough to get the job done. So guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, we're always constantly doing little tips and tricks like that. A lot of what you see is not mutually exclusive to Brian Phillips RC, but we put it in a package deal where you get everything you need in one stop. It does make that stop kind of more like a vacation than a bathroom break. Okay, all right, so throttle stick down, throttle hold on toward our belly. Is that correct from the manual?
Yes.
Obviously you can't put this on until you have it plugged in. So when I plug in a Heli that's brand new and I don't trust, then usually what I do is I try to get myself in a situation where worst case scenario I could hold it. And that thing can point the blades super steep, so just be careful. There's a certain amount of trust that happens when you plug in a helicopter the first time. Because if something goes horribly wrong, there isn't a lot you can do about it, okay? Other than hold it away from you or have the blades off. If you're really that nervous, you can undo this screw, don't lose your nut, and this screw, and don't lose your nut. Make sure you get these set to about like that. These ones feel maybe just a hair looser than what I would normally do. But if these are product samples, then they set them at the factory, so I trust them more than I trust me. Okay, now you're noticing I'm laying this down? No. I want to try to lay it flat when I'm plugging it in, but still have control of the vehicle. If that started up, it'd be like chop, 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 like that. And it would look like, not like Swiss cheese, but like salami. Yeah, so you like sliced salami, like bologna or something, okay? So don't be that guy, be careful, okay? Because these things do spin fast. All right, so plugging it in. Ooh. Okay, now we're gonna just wait. We're gonna give it a second. Hey, look at this. Wow, we have lights. That indicates that we have full battery. And then also, look at that, it's moving the swash plate. So when I lean forward, look at this, it leans forward. When I lean back, it leans back. When I lean to the right, it leans to the right. You see how it kind of relaxes slowly? And then when I do this, hopefully nothing happens. Nothing happens, good. Now, this throttle cuts on, so I'm gonna just straighten the blades up. I'm gonna give it a chance. Now, I'm just gonna go just a little bit up. See how it levels the plate? Now it's like way aggressive. Now it's like way down. Now it's about neutral. You see where the stick is lined up with that little white line? That's below center, that's above center, okay? So at the center, that thing should be pretty much level, okay? So when you get a brand new helicopter, if you're a wise person, what you'll do is you will get all this stuff tested. So throttle stick is all the way down, throttle cut is up toward my belly. And then I'm gonna put this cover on, okay? So the cover goes like that. And then this is going to stick in there eventually. So you just kind of hold that into a position until it pokes through. And depending on what direction you're pointed, it's easier or harder, okay? And then once you get those on, you just kind of like hold your fingers and it pokes through. You see how a little triangle comes through? And then you want to make sure that you get the bottom there, okay? Some of them line up in different ways This one goes, it looks like just that. Some of them go under the landing gear, some of them sit there. Now the other thing you're gonna notice is, look at this. As I tip this helicopter, it's trying to correct. Okay, so how do you see this direction? I'm gonna put the stick level. Okay, so the stick is level. And you can see everything is nice and square. Now what happens when I lean? It's gonna try to pull the swash plate to level. It's gonna try to auto level. See this? So it's like, imagine a level plane there. Now look at this direction. This plane is gonna also try to level. You see that? Pretty cool, right? And then this is like the collective, that keeps everything square. So you see how everything goes up and down. So this whole plane moves up and down. And that sets the stage for these two linkages that go up and set your collective pitch collectively amongst all the blades. Now, if there were 6 blades, if there were 7 blades, if there was 10 blades, they would be collectively up and down based on the collective. And then over here, this is a cyclic, or the cyclic, depending on how you want to say it wrong. If I have the collective about the middle and then I lean forward, it's gonna push the helicopter. When I let go, it's gonna auto level. When I pull back, it's gonna auto level when I let go. Now, when you're in idle up, which is this switch, when I pull that to the middle, it's gonna change the behavior. But I have throttle hold on. So what I do, what I'm not sure what a helicopter is gonna do, is I get it physically away from myself so that it can destroy other things, okay? So camera crew is gonna come over here. We're just gonna be in a safe spot in case something goes horribly wrong, but it's not gonna go horribly wrong because my throttle hold is pulled toward me, okay? Nothing should happen. Yep, it doesn't. And then you can see the pitch difference. Now watch this, all the way. Yep, see nothing, 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 right? So as you can see, nothing, nothing, nothing. It doesn't really change anything. That's good, that's what we wanna see. Because when your throttle hold is on, it's not gonna spool up. Now when throttle hold is off, this is the big tip of the day. When you go to take off a little helicopter like this, you wanna have the tail boom towards you. Now I try not to take off helicopters, I'm not sure what they're gonna do, inside of our house because I never really know. This is a big enough helicopter, could do some damage, but I'm a good enough pilot, I can probably handle it. So I'm just curious to see it spin up. So the throttle cut is on. I'm gonna push that back and make sure I'm all the way back, okay? Just be prepared to put it back on, right? So it's off. So now it should spool up a little bit when I get past a certain percentage. See, there it goes. See, it kind of smoothly goes up. You see how now throttle holds back on. So now I know that things are gonna initiate when I'm ready to initiate them. You also have an idea for how fast it's gonna kick up the speed, okay? We call that a soft start on electronic speed controllers, or ESCs, which is what takes the battery voltage, splits off battery eliminator circuit for the 3 servos and the LEDs and the radio, and then also splits off voltage and runs the motor. Okay, so it runs, it's like a variable frequency drive. Okay, so it takes DC, direct current, and it turns it into essentially pulsing sequences, and then it spins a motor. Okay, and there's sets of coils in a brushless motor that then changes the position of, in this case, the bell housing is the outside, and it spins it. Okay, all right, so it does all the timing and all that. It does 2 functions. It controls the battery voltage in. It also collects a lot of information, and then it spits it back to your transmitter via telemetry, okay? So it's actually a transceiver, and that in there is not just a receiver. It's a receiver, a flight controller, and a transmitter. So it's also a transceiver, okay? All right, so throttle cuts off. Let me just see what happens here. See how scary it gets. See, it starts getting a vibrating. That's where you want to be a little bit careful, okay? So if it starts vibrating on you, a lot of times what's happening is your blades have not spun out to their full position, okay? And the other thing too is when you bail on a spool up like that, like I did, a lot of times you'll see that vibration because these have not had the ability to stick out far like that, okay? So don't be surprised. All right, well that pretty much concludes our radio setup on the ready to fly option. Now, I said this earlier and I'll say it again just so you guys understand. If you're here for the programmable transmitter setup, which we'll probably end up using the NX10, then you're on the wrong video and you're probably thinking, good Lord, I just watched that whole thing to find the, yeah, that's the way it worked this time, I'm sorry. But you'll be able to see that soon. I'm not 100% sure when it'll happen, but I'm kind of hoping it'll be after my cold is done. Kind of depends on how good this does in the wind. So if it does really good, then we might jump straight into the programmable transmitter so we can teach you how to set up, how to bind this to that transceiver that we just talked about, and how to get all the functions tied to the right switches, because you're like, Brian, there's so many more switches on this NX10, like I'm not sure what to do with them. We'll help you understand it. We'll help you understand how during the binding procedure, it's gonna collect all the information, set it, and then you can save it, and then every time you turn this on, it'll be attached to your transmitter, okay? That's called binding. And hopefully we answered all your questions and then a little bit more. Obviously, good job, Blade. Thanks for giving us good beginner options. They call this a skill level 1 for a reason. They spent a lot of time making this thing easy to fly. And we're gonna show you just how easy it is to fly, because if I can fly it good, then you can probably fly it good. There's a lot of pilots that fly airplanes, but they don't fly helis. And to be honest with you, we need to put an end to that, because helicopters are awesome too. And I really, really, really enjoy flying both. There's no reason you can't do both. And again, just in terms of backyard stuff, I just wanted to point out one thing. It looks like that remote ID module might fit really nice back there. If you guys are interested in doing a remote ID module, which I know a lot of you are probably like, screw you, federal government, I don't care what you think. Come find me, catch me if you can, whatever. I don't blame you. I'm not arguing that you should. But I just want to show people that might be interested in it. It's right here. I think that might fit. Oh, it's just really just a touch too wide. Dang, I was hoping it might fit right there. But I was just curious if it might fit there. I wanted to show you guys if there was a spot that might work perfectly. I think it would probably still fit there. You could still get away with it. So if you want to be fully compliant, just be careful you don't interfere with this collective linkage there. And then the other thing too is if you do Sky module, they're more expensive than some of the competitive offerings. Let's just see if this other cheapo sticks in there. The thing that's nice about having one of these handy is just in case, you know, like a Karen shows up or whatever, you can just quick throw it in there and be done with it. Yeah, you could zip tie that son of a gun on there. And this thing's fully self-contained, so you don't have to have any external battery or connections or anything. But you will get additional telemetry. And then there's one kind of really nice feature on this, and it's got a Find Me feature, where the GPS will help you find your lost airplane, helicopter, or whatever, which, to be honest with you, is a really nice feature when you're a beginner, because then you can use it to figure out where the coordinates would be, and then you can go find it. But again, we're not trying to proselytize for the federal government's overreach with regard to RC, but it's the reality we live in. So, and the cool thing is, I think last year, probably this time, I would have been like pretty concerned, or whenever it went into force. Was it last year or the year before? I don't know. It was kind of a foregone conclusion at this point.
Yeah.
Only because a lot of good people really worked hard to help give everybody the help they needed. So you want to call it like a crisis in the industry, you know? It was a crisis, but it wasn't near as big and bloated as we were thinking it might be. But it's still ridiculous, and it still needs to be shut down. So anyway, that's all I got to say. Revolution 235 CP, really cool heli from Blade. Thanks, Blade, for giving us good trainers, because at the end of the day, there's a million different options out there from China, and most of them are going to claim to be everything to everybody. What the heck is that cat doing?
She went after a bird and she almost went over the edge.
Did you film it?
No.
I would like to see.
Sorry, I was just trying to not gasp.
It sounded like somebody was jumping off the deck.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're... Just move the stick. It'll stop groaning at you. I know you want to fly. I do too. So if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. Sorry about my voice and being a little bit below the weather. I hope that that's short-lived, but every year it seems like about this time of year I get this cold. If you also have a cold while you're watching this video, leave it in the comments below. I want to hear about it. And special thanks to Rami. If you guys didn't know this, Rami RC helped me get started back years ago. He set us up with our first affiliate relationship, which helped to get us off the ground. It was super cool because we were doing an airliner and we had a video that went viral that had an Airbus A330-600. And I think like he and I were talking a lot at that time because he was doing some amazing content. I was just doing like nothing compared to what he was doing. and I always enjoyed his stuff. But it was super cool because he helped us get started with one of our affiliates. It ended up being kind of terrible, and I think most of us that have ever worked with them have kind of abandoned them now. But it was super cool because he was always super nice, and I love watching his videos. And it's so cool. He's doing a lot of work for Tyler Perry right now. And you talk about advocates in the industry, people that are, have worked really hard and had some success and built amazing properties for aviation and stuff. I mean,
yeah.
If you want an example of it, look at that. It is some cool stuff. But Rami, thanks for being a friend, and thanks to the camera crew for the tea, because I normally don't drink tea, but it helps keep me going when I have a cold. So, all right, good job, Blade. If you guys want one for yourself, check out the links, video description below. We'll give you a link. You can see how much they cost, how much it might cost to ship to you. And also, if you're in the UK and you want to buy, but you don't see the link, or it doesn't work for you because you're seeing a USA link, we also have an EU master link that should be just a little bit further down. Just click that, navigate to it, you'll be able to get it. Yep. And you'll support Brian Phillips RC, even though you're over the sea. So, in fact, if you're anywhere in Europe and use the EU link, that's helped to support us. So, and no, you don't just, it's whatever you buy, it supports us. So if you follow the link and you buy this, and then, maybe you buy like a bunch of little adapters and stuff, you don't have to like keep following the link over and over again for that shopping cart. Just, put it in the cart, buy it, and then we'll be credited for whatever you guys buy. But if it's been, a month or something, and you change your mind, you went and you said, hey, I can't afford it right now, you need to come back. We get this question once in a while, so I'll just answer it right now. If you're coming back, it's been a while, just follow the link again, and that'll ensure that the credit goes to us if that's what you want to do. So we appreciate that. And also, if you want to support us, but you don't want to buy this helicopter, or you want to buy something else that you've seen in the past, bprc.me or brianphillipsrc.com, if you want to spell it all out, either one, same place. You can go there and you can see all the competitive offerings against this and those right here and right now. We have literally thousands of videos. They're organized in playlist format that's going to take you back to YouTube, so you can find exactly what you want to find. And then guess what? You can make a good decision, and it's the no BS, full truth. So help us God, nothing but the truth. Full truth, nothing but the truth. So help us God. So you get out of the chair and into the air, because you're on Brian Phillips RC. We want to help you guys to not just live vicariously through us, watching us do all this amazing hobby stuff. We want you guys to pick and choose the things you can't live without, and then help support and fund our channel by buying through the links. But at the end of the day, we just want you guys flying, okay? Because this is an awesome hobby. It's one of the most immersive, difficult, rewarding, amazing, frustrating, invigorating experiences you can do in RC. Because I've done a lot of RC, and I can tell you this right now: flying RC aircraft is the best. I have driven cars, I've driven boats, and I'm not trying to poo-poo any of that stuff, by the way. Obviously, Horizon sells a lot of that stuff. We want to help propagate those sales too, because RC is just super fun in general. But of the RC equipment that we have done in the past, flying aerial helicopters, V-quad, I don't get a lot into quads, admittedly, but I'm going to tell you this: I still like them, okay? It's just a different level experience. It's harder, it's more expensive, it can be more frustrating, it can be more catastrophic, there's a little bit more risk, but it's also, by and large, it is the most rewarding of the RC experiences. And I've done everything down to scale trains. I don't think I've ever done a remote controlled submarine, but I want to do that.
We're looking for one.
We're looking for one. If you guys make one, hit us up in the email.
And we do a lot of stuff, cars and boats, as a family, because all of our kids can do all of those things, whereas not all of our kids can fly. Yet.
But we're trying.
Or me.
Our older daughter is a little bit scared of flying still. Our younger daughter,
this is no interest, but our boys do.
Our boys do. And we want to help you guys get your kids in the air too, because there's not a lot of hobbies that you can do intergenerationally like RC aircraft.
Yep. And our oldest, the Revolution 90, the little teeny tiny orange one, is one of his favorite helis because he can fly it in here. Mm-hmm. But this would be a great next step if he says, I really want to learn to fly. I want to go outside. This is
which you can fly the Revolution outside too, but it would have to be pretty calm. This one will fly in this wind. In fact, we're going to try it right now and see how it works, but we won't be able to push the envelope if it gets kicked around by the wind really bad. So hopefully we answered all your questions. Like I said, also PayPal for one-time donations, Patreon for monthly support, YouTube membership for one-time support. Thanks, guys. We have like hundreds of members now, which is really cool.
Yeah, between
on
the two.
YouTube and Patreon. Some of you are like free members on Patreon, just so you know, it doesn't really do much, but we don't add a lot of value there, because if we did, the people that are overseas have to pay a value-added tax. So what you're doing is you're just supporting Brian Phillips RC. We're going to give you what we give you, and then like once in a blue moon, there might be a video that's like members only. It's very rare, but it's just usually like a behind-the-scenes thing, inside baseball sort of thing. But beyond that, we just want to give you guys the whole audience, the full truth, nothing but the true selfless God, so that you can make the best decisions. There's a lot of people out there right now on YouTube that are just full of crap. And even though some of you guys think sometimes that me, I tell you the truth, I love this hobby. I'm obsessed with it. We've spent millions of dollars to try to make this all happen. Not millions, but $1 million+ to make this all happen. And we'll be paying for it for years, 30, 40 more years. Okay? So when you see the other guys, they're not investing like we are. I mean, I had a bulldozer picked up from my yard this week. Okay? That's real. Okay? When you people are really invested, you get different level of aptitude that goes with that. Okay? So when you ask questions, when you support us, it's real. And I just want you guys to understand that. This is not just for show. Okay? I am really obsessive with this. Mm-hmm. And if you ever met me in person, you'd find out just how annoying it is. Mm-hmm. So that being said, and then also, I left one out. Super thanks. Thanks for super thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Super thanks are always super awesome, and we appreciate that. But really, to be honest with you, there's not enough super thanks that would make me happy as you guys all getting your own helicopters, quads, VTOLs, airplanes, 90mm EDF jets, batteries, transmitters, all the different things that you happen to need. And that's the other thing we're trying to do that the others aren't. We don't care what you need right now. We want to help get you the best value for your money. Okay? And we're going to do that by telling the full truth. Okay? All right. That's all we got. Stay tuned. I don't know if the maiden fell at the very beginning of this video, or if it's going to be separate. Do you know?
I think the maiden will come at the beginning of this, and then you'll be seeing this at the end.
Okay.
So if you want to see the
programmable transmitter,
that'll be a separate video.
Or it will continue on into the oblivion. So like you can start now, like about the retirement age, you'll be done.
Yeah.
But seriously though, guys, out of the chair, into the air, that's what we do here. Because everybody has an RC story. And if yours is on pause right now, get off of pause, get off the fence. We'll get you into the air, and we'll help you find some level of success. You don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to do this. A few $100 get you in the air now. But maybe for about $1,000, you can have a good transmitter, a good charger, a couple of good batteries, and then you can start building your fleet. Say you budget, $300-400 a month, you'll actually be able to have some of the latest and greatest, retail offerings. Okay, and that's not a bunch of BS. Like you save up you may not buy one every month. You can buy some of the best planes then, and you can buy some of the best batteries, and you can really enjoy the experience. Now, I know that that's a lot for some people, and that might not be much for others. But at the end of the day, we don't know what you have or what you don't have. But what we do know is what's available, and we want to help you guys sort through what the Chinese are lying to you about and what some of the other people are lying to you about and what really is. That's what we do. All right, stay tuned. So much more right around the corner from Brian Phillips RC. Thanks for watching.